You're smart. You're probably the one people come to for advice. You crushed school, read the right books, maybe even have a degree or two. You follow the finance gurus. You know the theory. You know the rules. So, why does your bank account still look like you don't? Why does it feel like no matter how much you know, you're always behind, always one step away from getting it together, but never quite there? You watch people who seem less capable, less educated, making money moves, building wealth, taking risks, while you sit there, cautious, calculated, and stuck. Here's the truth. What if intelligence has nothing to do with financial success? And what if it's actually working against you? If that hits a nerve, don't go anywhere, because what you're about to hear might explain everything. But I'll warn you, once you see it, you can't unsee it. You've probably asked yourself more than once, if I'm doing everything right, then why do I still feel like I'm barely surviving financially? You spend carefully. You think through your decisions. Maybe you even track your spending, but every month ends the same. No real progress, no real change. You feel stuck, and what's worse, you can't explain why. The truth is, nobody ever prepared you for this part. Not school, not your job, not even your family, because this isn't about knowing how money works. This is about how you work around money. There are invisible factors keeping smart people stuck. Patterns, beliefs, emotional traps, and most of them, they were formed long before you ever earned a dollar. In this video, we're going to unpack 5 uncomfortable reasons why high intelligence and low wealth often go hand in hand. And by the end, you'll uncover what's really blocking you, not just financially, but psychologically. Few people get this. Even fewer are willing to look in the mirror. But you didn't click this by accident. Let me tell you about someone I met a few years ago. Gabriel. Gabriel was the guy everyone considered brilliant. The kind of person who could solve problems faster than anyone in the room. A software engineer, degree from a top university, respected, articulate, the definition of intelligence. But behind that polished exterior, Gabriel was secretly drowning. Despite making a decent income, every month ended in panic. Bills piled up, credit cards maxed out. He was always one unexpected expense away from disaster. And worst of all, he knew exactly what he was doing wrong. He had read the books, listened to the podcast. He could recite financial theories better than most finance experts. But still, he was stuck. One evening, after yet another overdraft notification, Gabriel finally said it out loud. "If I'm so smart, why am I always broke?" There was no anger in his voice, no drama, just quiet disappointment, as if he had finally realized that his intelligence wasn't enough to rescue him, not from himself. And you know what? That question, if I'm so smart, why am I still broke, became the turning point in his life, because it forced him to see that the problem wasn't his knowledge. It was his relationship with money, his habits, his mindset, his story, and maybe that's where your answers are hiding too. Gabriel's story isn't rare. In fact, it's painfully common, especially among people who are considered smart. There's even a name for it, the intelligence trap. It's when your own intellect becomes the very thing that keeps you stuck. See, intelligent people are trained to analyze. They're rewarded for solving complex problems. They're masters of logic, reasoning, critical thinking. But when it comes to money, that skill set often backfires, because wealth doesn't reward how smart you are. It rewards how you behave. And most financially successful people aren't the ones who overanalyze every opportunity trying to find the perfect outcome. They're the ones who take simple actions, consistently. Smart people, on the other hand, often fall in love with complexity. They think the solution to their financial struggles needs to be some advanced investment strategy, a 5-year spreadsheet, or a perfectly optimized plan. But the truth, wealth is built through boring, repeatable, often painfully simple habits. Not sexy, not complicated. And in the pursuit of perfect, many intelligent people never start. They think their way in circles. They obsess over maximizing everything, which leads to doing nothing. Eventually, life moves on, and they're left wondering why their knowledge never turned into results. But there's more to this trap, something even deeper, and we're about to get into it. Most smart people don't fail with money because they're reckless. They fail because they're perfectionists. They want the right system, the best method, the ideal conditions. So they spend weeks, sometimes months, years, researching, planning, overthinking, but never actually doing. This is called paralysis by analysis, and it's lethal. Smart people tend to believe that mistakes are signs of laziness or weakness, so instead of taking small, imperfect actions, they freeze, afraid of making the wrong move. They say things like, "I'll start investing when I understand it better. I'll launch that business when the timing is right. I'll fix my finances when life calms down. But the perfect moment never comes. And the damage doesn't always look dramatic. It's quiet, subtle. It shows up in little choices, the subscriptions you never cancel, the raise you never negotiate, the course you never finish, the dream you keep postponing because you're still not ready. Before you know it, years have passed, and you're still in the same place, only with more regret. Perfectionism isn't a strength, it's fear, dressed up as logic. And that fear? It's driven by something deeper than just wanting to get it right. It's about protecting your identity. The story you tell yourself about being smart, competent, in control, because if you try and fail, then what does that say about who you are? Let's take a look at that next. Here's the thing about smart people. They're not just afraid to fail. They're afraid to be seen starting over. When you've built your identity around knowing things, being the dependable one, the one who always figures it out, the idea of not understanding money feels humiliating. That's the financial ego. It whispers things like, if I don't fully understand crypto, I shouldn't touch it. If I can't be great at budgeting, I'd rather not even try. If I read just a few more books, then I'll feel ready. But you never really feel ready because your ego isn't looking for readiness. It's looking for certainty. And in the real world of finances, especially personal finances, certainty doesn't exist. Smart people often use information as a shield. They imagine that if they just gather enough, they can protect themselves from all possible mistakes. But what they're really doing is avoiding the uncomfortable truth. You can be brilliant and still broke if you let your fear of being seen as a beginner keep you stuck. And the ego is clever. It will convince you that waiting is wise. That hesitation is caution. But behind all that logic is insecurity, hiding in plain sight. The hard reality. If you're too proud to be bad at money for a little while, you'll never be good at it. But that ego didn't start with you. It's part of something much older and far more powerful. You weren't born with your beliefs about money. You inherited them long before you earned your first dollar, long before you understood what a paycheck was. Even before you knew how to add and subtract, your mind was absorbing messages about what money means, from the way your parents spoke during bill season, from the anxiety in the room when rent was due, from the arguments at the kitchen table or the silence that followed. Maybe you grew up hearing, money doesn't grow on trees. People like us never get rich. Money changes people. Better to be happy than rich. And even if today as an adult you know those sayings aren't logical, somewhere deep inside of you, they've planted emotional roots. This is your money script, the invisible set of beliefs you didn't choose, but that now silently controls the way you spend, save, avoid, or chase money. It's why smart people can read every finance book in the world but still overspend on impulse. Why someone gets a raise and instantly ups their lifestyle. Why budgets fail. Why debt returns. Why progress stalls. Because they're not working against numbers. They're working against stories. Internal narratives written by the past. The worst part, most people never even realize their script exists. But once you learn to see it, you can rewrite it. And to do that, you'll need something intelligence alone can't give you. The real gap isn't between intelligence and success. It's between knowledge and courage. The truth is, most financially stuck, smart people aren't missing information. They're missing emotional capacity. Because real wealth isn't about outsmarting the system. It's about doing the consistent, uncomfortable things even when you don't feel ready. It's facing your shame about past mistakes. It's confronting habits that no longer serve you. It's making choices that look dumb to others in the short term, but change everything in the long run. Smart people often believe they should feel confident before taking action. But here's the twist. Confidence is the reward, not the requirement. Wealth comes from doing what you emotionally resist, budgeting when it feels boring, investing when it feels scary, asking for help when it feels vulnerable. It's not about knowing more. It's about being brave enough to keep going, even when your ego screams at you to stop. And the moment you realize that, you stop chasing perfection and you start choosing progress. That's when everything begins to shift. Gabriel didn't fix his life by reading another book. He changed everything the moment he accepted this. Knowing isn't doing. And playing it safe is costing me more than I thought. He didn't wait to feel ready. He started small, tracking every expense, setting auto savings for just $10 a month, asking questions he used to be too proud to ask. And every small, brave action cracked his old money story open, piece by piece. He still had doubts. He still fought the urge to overanalyze. But for the first time, he was moving. Not perfectly, but finally. And slowly, the numbers changed. More importantly, he changed. He stopped measuring his intelligence by how much he knew and started measuring it by how often he was willing to do the uncomfortable thing. No applause, no perfection, just quiet, consistent, courageous action. That's how the cycle breaks. And now, maybe it's your turn. So we've come full circle. Remember that question? If I'm so smart, why am I still broke? Now you see, it was never really about intelligence. It was about the patterns running silently in the background. Patterns built on fear, ego, perfectionism, and old emotional blueprints. You were taught that success comes from knowing more. But real wealth? It comes from feeling more, facing more, choosing more. You don't need another book before you take action. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment to start. You just need to start anyway. Messy, scared, uncertain. Because clarity doesn't come before action. It comes because of action. And if you've made it to this point in the video, you already did something most people never do. You stayed. You faced the discomfort. You chose self-honesty. That makes you rare. That makes you ready. From here, you can keep playing the same script or write a new one. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel prepared. Now, like this video and subscribe to the channel. Not just for me, but for you. To keep this transformation going. The choice is yours now. Wake up or keep being just another soldier of the script.